Fernando Alonso cannot drive more than 25 laps without risking permanent nerve damage to his hands. Lance Stroll cannot even manage 15. Their car is vibrating so violently that mirrors are falling off, tail lights are dropping onto the track, and the Honda power unit is destroying its own battery from the inside. Aston Martin considered not coming to Melbourne at all. And the man they paid a fortune to build them a championship-winning machine stood in front of a packed room full of journalists this morning and admitted with a microphone that kept cutting out, in what has become the most perfectly symbolic moment in Formula One this year, that he and Honda's racing president had not even discussed their race plan before sitting down to face the world's media. Welcome to Aston Martin's 2026 season. It has not started, and it is already one of the greatest disasters in the history of the sport. Let's go back to the beginning, because you need to understand how deeply this crisis runs. Adrian Newey, the most decorated aerodynamicist in Formula One history, the man behind 26 world championships across his career, joined Aston Martin as managing technical partner and team principal with a mandate to build Lawrence Stroll's dream. A team capable of fighting for a world title. The new factory was built. The wind tunnel was commissioned. The state-of-the-art Silverstone facility was ready. And then came the Honda partnership, the very engine supply that was supposed to give Aston Martin the final missing piece. Instead, it has turned into something that nobody in the paddock has ever seen before. Newey himself admitted before testing had even begun in Barcelona that the team was already starting from behind, saying, "It's bound to cost us." To be perfectly honest, we got in the tunnel mid to late April, as opposed to January 2 for everybody else. That was the first warning. Nobody knew how bad it was about to get. In Bahrain, across 2 weeks of pre-season testing, the full scale of the disaster became impossible to hide. The vibrations coming from the Honda power unit were so extreme that they were physically breaking the battery system from the inside the energy store, absorbing so much vibrational stress that it kept failing over and over again, leaving the AMR26 stranded in the garage for hours at a time rather than turning laps. Aston Martin ended both weeks of testing with the fewest laps of any team on the grid, just 128 laps across 3 full days of running. For comparison, McLaren completed 817. Fernando Alonso managed just 23 laps in his race simulation attempt before the car stopped on him. Lance Stroll completed 6 laps on the final day before the team parked the car entirely due to a shortage of Honda spare parts. 6 laps. On the last day of the only pre-season testing the entire 2026 field will ever have, Lance Stroll described the state of his car during those sessions with brutal honesty, telling the media, "The whole car was just falling apart with this level of vibration." He also said the AMR26 was approximately 4 seconds off the pace of the front-running teams. 4 seconds. That is not a gap. That is a different sport. And then came Thursday morning at Albert Park. And what Adrian Newey said at his press conference was genuinely unlike anything a team principal has ever said on the eve of a Formula One season opener. He began with the technical explanation, laying out precisely what the vibration problem actually is, and why solving it is not straightforward. The power unit is the source of the vibration. It's the amplifier. The chassis is, in that scenario, the receiver. A carbon chassis is a naturally stiff structure with very little damping, so the transmission of that vibration into the chassis, we haven't made any progress on. He then confirmed they had developed a dyno-tested solution that had successfully reduced the vibration going into the battery, which was welcome news for Honda, since the battery destroying itself was the headline reliability issue from Bahrain. But then came the moment that silenced the room. That vibration into the chassis is causing a few reliability problems, mirrors falling off, tail lights falling off, all that sort of thing, which we are having to address. But the much more significant problem with that is that that vibration is transmitted ultimately into the driver's fingers. Fernando is of the feeling that he can't do more than 25 laps consecutively before he will risk permanent nerve damage to his hands. Lance is of the opinion that he can't do more than 15 laps before that threshold. He then added, with the air of a man who has been carrying this information for several weeks, I think there's no point in not being open and honest in this meeting on our expectations. It's something that, unfortunately, Koji and I haven't had a chance to discuss properly prior to this meeting. We are going to have to be very heavily restricted on how many laps we do in the race until we get on top of the source of the vibration and improve the vibration at source. The Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne is 58 laps long. Fernando Alonso's limit is 25. Lance Stroll's is 15. The mathematics of Sunday are almost too grim to process. And Honda Racing Corporation President Koji Watanabe, sitting alongside Newey as he delivered all of this, added his own carefully measured response. We will introduce countermeasures which we believe to be the most effective solution at this stage, starting this week. However, its effectiveness cannot yet fully be confirmed in real track conditions, so certain conditions will be applied to power unit operation this week. Further measures are already under consideration. We are not able to share technical details, so we ask for your patience as we continue working toward full performance. Translation: we have tried something. We do not yet know if it works. We will know more after practice on Friday. That is the level of certainty Honda can offer 48 hours before the start of the Formula One season. When Lance Stroll was asked on F1 TV to describe what the vibrations actually feel like from inside the car, to put it in terms a normal person could understand, he searched for a comparison and landed on the most visceral one imaginable. It's like electrocuting yourself in a chair. I don't know how you could compare it. He then added, with the weary acceptance of someone who has had to sit in this machine for weeks, it's a very uncomfortable vibration and it's bad for the engine but also for the human inside the car. Moments later, he delivered the most unfiltered verdict on his entire 2026 season so far. It's life, you know. Sometimes you're a driver, and some seasons you get in the car and it's magic, and some seasons you get in the car and it's shit. That last line, from the son of the team's billionaire owner, is one of the most extraordinary things a Formula One driver has ever said on camera. Alonso's reaction was the more controlled of the two, but it carried its own quietly devastating weight. He acknowledged the vibrations fully, saying, "The vibrations coming from the engine are hurting the components in the car and the drivers, we feel them. We feel our body with this frequency of the vibration that you feel after 20 or 25 minutes, a little bit numb, on your hands or your feet or whatever." He then tried to inject some optimism, noting that improvements had been made since Bahrain and that adrenaline has a way of overriding pain inside a race car. If we were fighting for the win, we can do 3 hours in the car. Let's be clear. So I think that overcomes anything when you are on the car. What do you think? Can Honda fix the vibration problem fast enough to salvage anything from the 2026 season? Is this the end of Fernando Alonso's dream of one final championship challenge? And does Adrian Newey, for the first time in his extraordinary career, have a mountain that is simply too steep to climb? Drop your predictions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more F1 news. I'll catch you in the next one.